So I just added offsets, and I have the option of doing either an outer glow like this, or doing a stroke like this. And I've chosen the width. I want it to be white because that's the most versatile on different backgrounds. And you'll notice that looks good on the gray as well. And of course on the white you won't even notice it. And you can do a combination of both, which might soften it out a little bit. But my stroke is quite a bit larger than my outer glow. But if I make my outer glow larger, like so, I don't think I want to, but then I add in my stroke, you'll see how they kind of double up. So you have a few options. And what I love about layer styles is you can always edit them and kind of push them back. So I think I'm going to keep it at those settings. Okay, now it's a good time to save. I'm going to show you, if you were finished at this point, which is perfectly acceptable, this is well considered digital coloring, you're going to turn off all of your background layers. But notice I'm leaving the offset layer on. So I still have the white border around it, which makes it a lot more versatile on different backgrounds. And now I will save it to the desktop as a PNG. So I keep that transparency. But I'm going to do a few different versions. So this is my color spot illustration, but this one is Duotone Cut Edge Color. Or just Duotone Cut Edge. Save. Because one of the greatest things about digital art is you can do different versions, right? Now what can I do with that PNG? I can load it up to PhotoBucket, of course. But if I go to the class and I go to links, you'll also see an option for a site called Redbubble, which I don't own any stock in. I don't think it's publicly traded. But I do have a Redbubble page, and I use a variety of different online sources. I use Fine Art America, I use Society6, I use Design by Humans, I use Pencil, I use a few others, and Redbubble. But what I like about Redbubble is it's free, and you can make everything you upload to it private so that you can see all the products. You can order them for yourself, but if you're worried about their intellectual property rights, or you're just worried about making them public for sale, you can keep it private so only you can see it. And honestly, most of these companies make most of their money from people buying their own work. Right? But what's nice about it is a really nice user interface to help you see how versatile your digital art can be, provided it's at a good resolution and a PNG. So if you go to links, you will see right above our different handouts, redbubble.com. And what you can do is click on Sell Your Art, right? And you can read about it, and you can say sign up, and you can just use your Alamo email address. But once you have an account, you can log in, and you have the option, once you're logged in, you can look at your profile, you can build a shop, and you can link it to a PayPal site, and you can sell stuff, right? And the thing I like most from them are their stickers. And so these are a bunch of kind of digital coloring. Some of these are past examples for this class. And it shows, how the stickers will look. So if I add a new work, I can take my PNG, just like I would upload it to PhotoBucket, but load it into Redbubble, give it a title, and I'll call this Texas Humility. And I'll just call it Duotone Color Test. And I don't think it requires tags. But if you want to sell it, you definitely want tags in there so it shows up. So deer, Texas, hat, whatever you think of. Creepy. that kind of stuff. And then you can set what it is. It's design and illustration. It's digital art. And then where do I want it to show up? I want it to show up in my stickers. And then this is the important part. Who can view this work? You can select anybody or only you. So for now, I'm just going to put only me. I'm going to keep it private. And you have to check that you have the rights. This is where your understanding of public domain and of Creative Commons and of intellectual property comes in. You have the right to sell the products. And they do say any featured person's name or face. So someone was asking about caricatures of recognizable people like actors. If they are recognizable and you use their name as a tag especially, you want to make sure you have in some way permission to do fan art of them. And then you have to indicate, is it mature content? Well, all of my content is mature. I'm a grown man. I have not childish thoughts, but mature content, they mean, should anyone under 18 be looking at this? And I say, yeah, why not? Oh no, I want them to look at it. So I'm going to say, no, it's not mature content. It's very immature content. And I save the work. All right. So what's neat here is it's going to process. I'll let that go in the background, and then it will show me all the different products that can work with it. And obviously the most basic are just t-shirts and stickers, right? I won't have to do much for those, but I can choose what kind of color t-shirt. So we'll let that go on in the background. Now I'm going to show you some new things. So I've got the offset worked out. What if I want to play with not hard-edged or cut-edge duotone, but soft-edge duotone? Well, let me make just a duplicate of my cut-edge highlights. And I'm going to relabel it soft edge. It's like a gradation. And then I'm going to turn off my cut edge one. And now on my soft edge one, I'm simply going to take that and I'm going to blur with Gaussian blur my shapes. And you'll see immediately what happens. Like, look at the wing. Look at the fur. It softens the edge. So that is the difference, in a nutshell, between cut edge and soft edge. It gives a gradient, and that works really kind of nicely on the eyes. I don't like it so much on the fur. I don't really like it so much on the horns, but I like it on the hat, and I like it on the wings. So if I wanted to, I could simply do this. Take my magic wand with contiguous. Where I don't like it, I just delete it. And where I do like it, I keep it. Right. And now in these areas, the problem is with soft edge, when you do Gaussian blur, it makes it pretty transparent. So you see how my wing, if I want it all soft edged, this is kind of a slight combination of them, because the Gaussian blur makes it somewhat transparent. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this selection and I'm going to duplicate that from my cut edge shapes. Like so. I have to unlock it first before. Okay. Then turn that one off. And now I have my cut edge selections. So this isn't very common to have a mix in one illustration of cut edge and soft edge. But I like how it looks in the eyes, on the wings, and on the hat. Does that make sense? So you have an option. The other way to do cut edge, or soft edge, is to simply take an eraser and cut away from your highlights using a soft edged eraser, so hardness 0, and even a lower opacity. So you can kind of build it up. So if I wanted to soften some of these transitions, I could do that. Just add a soft edge transition around each of the shadows on the fur. And again, you can spend a long time with these variations. And it's a lot of fun. But I'm going to just try to make some choice examples. Usually just on one side of the shape. And it's just like if you're doing like a charcoal drawing and you have to blend out one side of your shadows. That's the same sort of discipline. Form shadows are usually soft. Cast shadows are usually crisp. So for a full control of the illusion, you want to have, sometimes if you want it to really look believable, you want it to have both. But it might then look less stylized. But I'm adding this little transition. And because it's only at basically 50%, if I wanted to get darker, I can just go over it more and more. So you have a lot of control over your coloring. Again, because it's just duplicated from your flat colors, you never need to worry about going out of bounds. We're erasing away and revealing shadows. We're not painting in. And that's an important distinction. Okay, so I'm almost done with soft edge color. And then I'm going to show you some other options, like how to play with what's called full spectrum color. Not too much. It's easy to overcolor, so be mindful. It's all on different layers, which is helpful. When digital coloring first started in comics in the early 90s, there was a tendency to overdo it, to have lots of ink work that really described form, and then add to that lots of subtlety in digital coloring. And it just became too much. Yeah, we could look at some old kind of 90s comics where I used to keep a whole stack of them with examples. They're not the type that were good enough to keep online. But they would basically, like, someone would draw a face of a comic book character, and then the colorist would go in and completely model the face with hard and soft edges. Whereas now they typically, I do have some examples I'll show you of Wonder Woman and stuff. But I'll do that outside of the demo, so I'm not trading on intellectual property too much. But they'd basically like redraw the face with the coloring. So then it ended up looking like someone took a Sharpie to a sculpture, right? So you're always working with your line work and trying to figure out what's a good level. And so I'm a big fan of limited color. But full spectrum is where it gets into basically full-blown painting. And if you ever overdo it, I still have my sharp brush for painting. And I can always just put in a cut edge again if I felt like something got lost. Sometimes it's hard to make those decisions. But it's easier to do it here than to try to do it in Illustrator, where you're cutting out all your shapes or filling them with gradients. All right. So I could go into the horns and really play, but I'm going to leave the horns pretty cut edge, leave the hat soft edge, leave the wings soft. I like what it did to the eyes. Gives them a a lot more presence.